As US-Iran geopolitical tensions dramatically heat up to dangerous flashpoint levels amid spiraling nationwide protests threatening regime survival, a high-ranking official directly connected to Tehran's clerical establishment has outrageously suggested launching a retaliatory special operation to capture President Donald Trump in spectacular Maduro-style fashion right inside American territory. Hassan Rahim-Pourrezgadi explicitly declared through public channels that Iran should immediately capture Trump, just like what he did to Maduro during the US Special Forces raid that snatched Venezuela's socialist strongman from his fortified presidential compound in Caracas. Hassan Rahim-Pourrezgadi said, and I quote, "Iran must do with Trump what they did to Maduro. Given Trump's stance, any kind of operation inside US territory, in all its states and cities including destructive operations like those they carry out here, would be permissible against American officials and those linked to them. Trump must pay the price during or even after his presidency, and I personally hope Trump would be captured." This extraordinarily reckless remark arrived immediately after President Trump's persistent, vocal, and highly visible public support for mass anti-government protests erupting everywhere across Iran, specifically targeting Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's increasingly isolated and vulnerable regime. As Ghadi chillingly declared through regime media that deliberately destructive black operations conducted deep inside sovereign US territory spanning all 50 states and major metropolitan cities would now become fully permissible against American government officials and anybody personally linked directly to them. Iran's latest round of explosive and fast-spreading protests violently erupted across the nation amid catastrophic economic collapse characterized by the national rial currency's uncontrollable plunging freefall value, runaway hyperinflation wiping out family savings, and seething popular fury over rampant systemic corruption lining clerical pockets. These geographically widespread and increasingly bold demonstrations engulfing more than 100 cities have been urgently labeled by seasoned Iran watchers as posing potentially the single biggest existential challenge to the Islamic Republic's stability since the massive bloody 2022 Masa Amini uprising shook Tehran violently. As initially economic protests rapidly snowballed into outright revolutionary chants demanding regime change, President Donald Trump and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei publicly traded increasingly sharp, personal, and mutually threatening rhetorical barbs warning of unthinkable escalation should violence claim more civilian lives. President Trump has pointedly and repeatedly refused to categorically exclude any potential direct military intervention options remaining firmly on the table, while simultaneously Ayatollah Khamenei desperately blamed America's CIA for deliberately triggering, funding, and orchestrating this existential domestic agitation campaign. President Trump issued crystal-clear public warnings broadcast directly toward Tehran leadership stating unequivocally that any deliberate mass killing or systematic slaughter of peaceful economic protesters could immediately trigger severe, overwhelming, and precedent-setting U.S. military retaliation against Revolutionary Guard command infrastructure. Meanwhile, Ayatollah Khamenei contemptuously branded all courageous street protesters participating nationwide as despicable foreign-backed CIA hirelings and mercenaries deliberately trying to please President Trump through manufactured chaos specifically designed to overthrow the 1979 Revolutionary Order violently. Nicolas Maduro's shocking and professionally executed personal capture through elite U.S. Special Operations Forces dramatically demonstrated President Trump's unambiguous intent, proven operational capability, and political willingness to employ cross-border military force against sitting authoritarian leaders brazenly defying Washington anywhere globally. National security analysts tracking Middle East flashpoints immediately noted how this televised seizure operation sent an unmistakable, bone-chilling warning shot piercing directly toward Ayatollah Khamenei's bunker that the Islamic Republic could realistically confront identical spectacular fate should domestic protests successfully overwhelm Basij militia control. The intelligence-driven U.S. operation meticulously built around proven tactics, real-time surveillance, and rehearsed procedures to physically breach Maduro's multiple-ringed Miraflores presidential compound has further deepened, accelerated, and catastrophically exacerbated Iran's cascading domestic political crisis engulfing the paralyzed clerical establishment. Hardline regime insiders now openly express paralyzing fear that if Venezuela's long-serving president can be summarily snatched alive on publicly announced and legally documented narco-terrorism charges backed by DEA indictments, then their own days exercising absolute power over Iran might genuinely prove numbered as revolutionary chants intensify. Meanwhile, across Tehran streets now clogged with tens of thousands of chanting demonstrators braving tear gas volleys, increasingly bold and explicit protest slogans directly targeting Ayatollah Khamenei by name have signaled unprecedented visceral rage specifically at the ossified, parasitic structure of clerical rule strangling Iranian society since 1979. President Trump has repeatedly hinted through carefully calibrated but unmistakable public statements at methodically hitting the Iranian regime where it hurts most. Financially through swift exclusion, militarily through proxy decapitation, cyber through nuclear sabotage, which have successfully stoked palpable existential fears rippling through Tehran's tightly knit National Security Councils and IRGC General Staff.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.